Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're checking out a SwordCraft deck. This is not too bad actually. SwordCraft, I think, maybe not, I can't remember. I don't think they got a buff. If they did, it's definitely not in any of the cards that I've got here by the looks of it. Don't think so. Either way, Sword did a fairly good job before the changes to the meta, and before, of course, even the major nerfs were done. And it still does well now. Honestly, Mecha Sword actually is fairly decent. I like it. I like how it performs. It has really good board flood potential for constant 1/1 generation. This variation is only running a single Honorable Knight. You could potentially run more, just messing around with some numbers, but honestly, that's not too bad. I would probably consider actually though running 2 of that, maybe even 3 Admiral Lion, and maybe just taking out the arms dealers altogether. I haven't found those to be super useful, but that's definitely a tech change I would probably personally make. So we are going to get right into this and check it out. So while the next match, of course, is loading up, sometimes this happens with the games. They just take a minute to go from black into the game. But the first matchup here is going to be against Blood. And it's going to be Rem, of course, behind the wheel. Ooh.
Revel in the power of
Makes me almost not want to hit you, Rem. I'm sorry, Rem. I love Amelia. Ugh. Right in the feels right there for poor Rem. So we've got the Robo-Goblin in early play. Really all you're looking for now is just some early pressure. You're trying to generate as many deaths on board as you can while chipping away at your opponent's health. You don't really have any one big overall swing. And that's really how Sword's always done it. They've always ran on smaller Storm Followers, things that can chip in damage. At biggest damage was usually around 5. There are a couple of Sword decks that could do more, of course, but they were typically less seen or less decent. But it always relied on that little bit of chip damage. Also, this Sword deck does really well against things like Vengeance, where Azazel will come down and just absolutely cripple most damage dealers, but because this deck doesn't deal much more than 3 a lot of the time anyway, not usually an issue. So Stampeding Fortress though, we'll talk about that card for a second. That thing is absolutely nuts. Firstly, the fact that you can generate 4 cards total once you play it down, so you generate Stampeding plus 3 with the Evo. The other fact is that you get a free Evo on 9, which actually has some playability in Sword, is absolutely insane. Plus its stats aren't exactly low, they're actually quite decent. So I decided to trade it in, and I was tempted to play the repair, decided against it though. Since I suspected they would have to trade Azazel anyway, which was most likely going to be the situation off the bat. And really at this point, most of this isn't a problem for us. We can actually take these out fairly easily and continue to generate decent sized boards. So the Mecha Wing Angel gives us a full board, we regenerate, we set ourselves up nicely going into turn 7 where we don't really have many plays available to us. And while we can't deal more than 3 damage to face right now, all these 1/1s definitely will feel the pain when they hit them. So we do need to get rid of this. I decided best case, sacrifice. Especially since now we can go for Dragonite for 3, and since dealing more than 3 damage is pointless, may as well play it as a 5-drop card and just fill the board up. With just 2 health left, there is not a lot they could do. Destructive Succubus was good, definitely. If they had to make any play, I would have to say that was the best one they could make. Because now I don't really have any way just to go for lethal right off the bat. I need to have something else to help support me. And Technolord's not a bad one to get us going here. Unfortunately, we did get the worst possible spread on the Technolord. Having to deal with this 6-2 and the 3-1, not good. Although, they did make some good trades here for us. And with the Stampeding Fortress, we actually win the game. If they had have traded off and killed off the 1-1 and sacrificed the 3-1, we probably still would have made a comeback, but we wouldn't have had lethal that turn at least, so they definitely shot themselves in the foot there. Now, for a Haven matchup, so Bloodhaven and Portal seem to be the top 3 decks I've seen in the rotation right now. They're what I've had the majority of my matches against. I haven't actually seen any Dragon, any Forest, or really much else, to be honest. That's kind of it. I've seen a little bit of Shadow, which is doing quite well. I haven't won many Shadow games, mainly because I'm trying to get used to their playstyle and trying to adapt my own to play around them, and some decks don't do that better than others when I'm trying to make videos, so I haven't had much of a chance to do so, but I get a feeling like that deck's definitely performing well. It's either a combination of Reanimate decks and Purgatory decks are doing quite well. So starting us off, Hoverboard Mercenary, good turn 2 play. We do need a good turn 3. Autoblade Patroller is pretty decent. Although Arms Dealer is not bad either right now. I did get rid of potential damage, but I needed to get something else. Since I need to be able to deal with their board. I can't not deal with it. It has to be done at this point. Now, I can't do a big play until turn 5, when I can go for the Autoblade plus the Ivory Sword. Actually, not a bad combo. When you're on turn 5, going for those two together work really well. You actually get a nice buff on it. Plus, if you evolve it, you can potentially go for a 6 clear. And going up against this is definitely what we need. So I don't think I could wipe this, unfortunately. Not easily, but we can at least take out 2 things. The Auto Blade with the Evo actually allows us to kill something off. As long as we had another Mecha follower on board. So all we left up was the Bane, which, yeah, it's not great, but it's not the worst situation. I'd much rather leave the Bane up right now than anything else. And their trades were actually fairly decent too, because they obviously wanted to try and stick both their board around. Unfortunately, that is going to come back to bite them now, since they actually lose both no matter what here, and I don't even need to use an Evo. I actually played this deck a little weird. Usually I focus more on just generating mass boards and not worrying about too much else. But I didn't feel the need to do that for this one. As you saw in the first game, we mainly focused on using things like the Stampeding Fortress in the early game to really put a lot of pressure down, but this one, it didn't feel necessary. We did fairly well just taking the board by storm when we needed to. And the turn 8 Latham play is actually almost set up now, so we're not too worried. We just need to get past this, and we'll be okay. And the Angelic Smite gave us the perfect way out. Although I definitely should have sacrificed 1-1 and then went for something else. Whether it was Aether or just something with more value. I would have lost out 1 damage, but I think that would have been fine. And we still have lethal right now, at least. The Elena Prayer's trying to cripple us, but unfortunately for them, Blazing Lion Admiral just ends their entire game. We also could have went for the Ironforged Hero, probably would have done a fairly similar job, but that worked really well for us to get that lethal. So if you guys are looking for a sword deck, this is definitely one I can recommend. Definitely play around with it though. As I mentioned, the Arms Dealers aren't my favourite cards. They're okay, but not super useful. I definitely would think I find a Latham and Extra Lion Admiral more useful in most matches, as a lot of the time I can easily get to that stage where I get 1 free Lion Admiral, I might have 1 in hand, and a second one would just be really good to top off the next turn and support me, so that could definitely help. Otherwise, I really enjoyed this deck. It's quite fun. Also, I don't know what to make of the Ironforged Hero down here, actually, now I think about it, as I did just do the story video not that long ago, and we didn't see this guy. We just didn't. The Ironforged Hero didn't make any kind of appearance compared to the others, which is weird. Well, I suppose the others were all part of Belthmer, weren't they? So these are really interesting for the storyline, but either way, completely separate issue. If you guys did enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, guys, see ya.